learning this after learning and completing this course. So we are going to teach them for 3 years, and uh, we have the educational goals, and we have the teaching objectives, and in every paper we have those courses, and these learning outcomes will describe what the student will be able to do after learning and completing uh, our learning course, our syllabus, or after graduating. Importance of learning outcome. Uh, these learning outcomes have benefits to both learners and to faculty. Mm, Here, for the learners means like the students, they will identify what they should be able to do to be successful in the course, and they will decide if the course is the right fit for them and their goals. And they will take ownerships of their learning, and they will uh, s- mm, they will be able to self-regulate their learning. And for the faculty, the benefits of learning outcome is it facilitates selection of course content and design of assessment and activities. Transparency with learners on course expectations and end goal, and align level of mastery expected for the course with program and university goals. So if both the teacher and the student are clear with the learning outcome, even the learners before choosing their subject, if we can provide them this learning outcome, they will be able to decide whether they will choose that subject or not. So um, it has benefits for the learners and even for the faculty and for the teacher. It helps us in design of assessment and activities. If we are clear with the learning outcome, not only for the result of graduates, or not only for um, their marks, we have to think about different levels of learning outcomes. And after knowing the learning outcomes of the course, we will be able to design our lesson plan, or we will be able to design what kind of activities will we give to our student, or what like so it will help us in all those designing those assessment and activities. And we will be able to tell our student about the end goal and course expectations, the outcome. And here we will discuss about taxonomy of cognitive, educational objectives, and learning outcome. Here we need to discuss this taxonomy of cognitive educational objectives, because Benjamin S. Bloom is a psychologist. He has developed this taxonomy of cognitive educational objectives, and this is very useful in planning teaching objectives and educational objectives. Here, in 1956, Bloom's developed taxonomy consists of 6 broad categories of cognitive learning, arranged in order to increase complexity. Like these 6 broad categories are knowledge, comprehension, obligation, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And for each of these broad categories of cognitive learning, the taxonomy identifies specific learning outcomes in behavioral terms, and each of these educational objectives may be evaluated. This taxonomy may assist the teacher in clarifying his educational objectives and modifying his teaching practices so that relevant, important outcomes of learning are identified and realized. Writing learning outcomes. There are only few guidelines for writing learning outcomes. The first step is begin with an action verb that denotes the level of learning expected. And we can use Bloom's taxonomy to identify verbs to describe participant learning. Examples, uh, this Bloom's taxonomy have been revised twice. So this the first one is the original one, and this one knowledge is the first like original one, and remembering is revised one. So for each level of taxonomy, there are certain action verbs that we can use. Like if our level of teaching or our expected learning outcomes is knowledge, the lowest level that is remembering, we can use the action verb like define, list, recognize, or something like that. And the next level is understanding. And if our expected learning outcomes is understanding level, we can use like characterize, describe, explain, identify, locate, recognize, short. And here in the third step, in this applying in this level of taxonomy, we can use this like choose, demonstrate, implement, perform. And the next step is analyzing. We can use those analyze, categorize, compare, differentiate. And in evaluating, we can use access, critic, evaluate, rank, rate. And the last one is creating. From analyzing and evaluating to creating. Here in the last step, creating the level, the expected learning outcomes is like construct, or the student will be able to create their own, create a new things. Like the level maybe example like a project. If we give students a project, they will be able to create their create new things, and they will be able to produce their own thesis. And in PhD and other levels, higher studies, we are expecting this creating level. So here are Bloom's taxonomy. um, because while writing learning outcomes, we need to remember, we need to base on this pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy. Here this shows, I hope you can see it clearly. Here the first level is remembering, um, whether here in this level, um, whether can the student recall or remember the informations. Here understanding, can the student explain ideas or concepts that we have taught. And here in the third step, applying, can the student use information in a new way. Analyzing, can the student distinguish between different parts. Evaluating, can the student justify a stand or decision. Creating, can the student create a new product or point of view. So these are the levels of Bloom's taxonomy, and for each level there are different action verb that we use. So if we while writing learning outcomes and uh, writing learning outcomes, if we use only this type of action verbs, it means we are expecting the lowest level of outcomes, that is remembering. So for each level, there are different action verb. This for this Miss Dampuii will have presentations on this action verb. And the next step for writing learning outcomes is that the most useful learning outcome include a verb that describes an observable action. So we have said that a learning outcome is it can be described, it should be observable and measurable. So we must remember that our action, this verb should be observable, and a description of what the learner will be able to do and under which conditions they will be able to do it, and the performance level they should be able to reach. And we should select a verb that you can observe and measure, because there are many verbs that can't be directly observed and therefore are difficult to assess in the classroom. Do not use the following verbs like understand, appreciate, be aware, cover, know, be familiar with learn, comprehend, study, or there are around 13 verb that we should not use. And the next point is a well-written learning outcome will focus on how the learner will be able to apply their new knowledge in a real-world context rather than on a learner being able to recite information. And we need to follow these SMART attributes, like our writing should be specific. Is there a description of precise behavior and the situations it will be performed in? Is it concrete, detailed, focused, and defined? And it must be measurable. Can the performance of the objective be observed and measured? And it must be achievable. Like, are you attempting too much? And it should be relevant. Is the objective important or worthwhile to the learner or stakeholder? Is it possible to achieve this objective? And so we have those Bloom's taxonomy, those different levels of learning, and maybe we can expect too high. Like sometimes, if we want to write a good learning outcomes, but maybe sometimes we can't expect very high from the students that they are not achievable, or maybe we are attempting too much. And we must also think about whether this learning outcome will be achievable. And time bound, is there a time limit, rate, number, percentage, or frequency clearly stated? When will this objective be accomplished? So these are we should follow these SMART attributes. And so those are the 5 important points for writing learning outcomes. And here I have collected some example for course learning outcomes. Like for computer and information science, describe the scientific method and provide an example of its application. So here it starts with action verb, and here I have collected some example from for science and social science and humanities, health sciences. For example, in science, we can write learning outcomes like describe and apply research methods to study child psychology, select appropriate mathematical routines to solve problems, and create and interpret molecular models or chemical computations. And here for humanities, we can write outline the structure of the constitutions of the United States. Like instead of understand the structure of the constitutions of the outline of the United States, we can write outline the structure of the constitutions. And here for health sciences, I have collected some example for course learning outcomes. And here are another example, like comparing bad learning outcomes and good learning outcomes. The students will understand the concept government. So it's like this is not measurable. So instead of writing like this, you can write the students will describe measure nations of government. The student will appreciate cultural practices of the people in India, and instead we can write the student will identify and demonstrate the varied cultural practices of the people in India. The students will learn about the robotics, or instead we can write the student will explain the major trends in robotics. Thank you. And me- kasoy mo po pagkatong hesitate. Miss Papar.
shit here.
Miss Papa.
Oh yeah.
Zani ka signal at chiang kuang lo tata link karon generate le me latro.
Oh yeah, no generate me. That's one Miss Dampuin. Aron soivele hal mop mai don ni chu mi zo discussion zanin hi Miss Dampui lo soi chungin host chi kanin siam lo ringota insider vek kan ni wangin kan tia e chu tilu tukin kan formal lem lawa chu ti ron chuanin flok tum cheu khanin kan lo endon ya Miss Dampui hi chuak dei me kan lo nga chungin sarmoi te sarngak te khan soi dun nei em le
alo lu tangi alo lu lo Miss
o
Dampui
atsuak dei me tinge ka shi
me sol yang me sol manile ngoro kan phone ni kan call lak ni yeah
Muro karon ti chadon. In
muthe
mo muro
adikre basil
adik mo
adik
king pa hian engma lang no mo.
Ko basil
ilang chalat to
Cha alang ti kanin muthe
muthe
good evening to you all. Mi se te kanin English na ron tenga ke ma hian mi zau chang eng ron ti vele thung don ni. Difference between program outcome and course outcome. The program outcome are specific enough to explain how those board expectations are accomplished within a given program, and course outcome will specify what expectations and instruction has for the course, which are related to one or more program outcomes. Program outcome le course outcome ka he kan chat fia theidan enge adang lamna program outcome kan ti chu azau de izokani no pangten enge anzir chwa tur an ron duana kha kami ahun an ron bi thia ta chu mi chunga kan zo tur khan ron duang ta kan mi thiam ti khan anoi puye kan zo hun tur ang kha chuanin khatyang han an ron da tok ta ni chuanin learning outcome kan ti kami course outcome be thunga chuanin ke manin kami program outcome kan zir tur an ron da kha course outcome chuanin a hlotin na kan lo nei pui khani ta specific date ya kan zir tir mo semester te kan lo zir tir angte kim chang taka no pangin an thiama ka a practical po an man ngal thei ang chi kha ni ta ni chuanin entir nan example a chan program outcome a chan a plus b holding square hi lozir hemi formula hi thiam turin ronda ta angse course outcome chuanin a plus b whole thing square hi no pangten an thiam nge here formula mang hian no pangte hian an thil thiam hemi mang hian an chok chhuak thiam ani thil dang kami formula mang hianin thil dang po kha an chok chhuak thiam ani kan ti ang chi kha course outcome chu lo ni ta ni chuanin ada tu chan implementation of course outcome intinge kan course outcome kha kan implement dang ama sibira chanin semester chantira mo in lo khata at the beginning of each semester first sem an ron chan chia ang khanin no pangtin ne na khan kan lo communicate ngal kha ngai tani kumtin chuan class kan chan khaninge kan zirlai na tum kan objectives te khadang kha chu kan lo soipui si ang enge hata changa kan zir chwa tum ti te po ha kan lo soipui zia me the ni ma se tu na chanin enge apui mo na kan sha ta chanin kha aya la formal zokin mo no pangtia khanin engtinge kan communicate ang paper kan print swaka nga kan semanga kan shilfia don nge paperless communication kan ti cha email mangten kan thon swak fik the ma nia khan ani lo pun whatsapp te khatyang khan kan shil the bok ta ni chuan ba ka kan course outcome kha a technical lo theyang berin kan ti turani achan chu kami kan course outcome kha no pangte kan shil na tur kha kan no pangte kan zir tir te kha kan no pangte ke nia ya experience le ne claim zok te thil la shilo zok achan an nu le pa te ne na ngai boka khang tia wang khanin technical low bear kha kan mang turani chan subaka course outcome kami kha document kha kan provide the ani chan chu ta chan no pangten an thiama until zir chu kha kami kha kshat puina kami an thiam nge yani ti document kha kan pe theya achan chu nakina BA university enge tinge hetiang te thiam lo ti te khan tok ve the ni khatianga khanin hetianga anmani BA rawa khan hin zir chwani ti kan shat tir theinan khan anmani khan kami document kha an nei theani chuan adot tu le chuanin how to assess the student outcome engting a student how an outcome kha kan assess ang masabira chuan self assessment ti kha omtani self assessment kan ti chuan an ti tur kan te ka changte khan anmani kha an quality kha kan shat kan lo she thei don ani an mani le mani po kha an quality khan in sha theinan khanin class work kan pek te na mo khatyanga chan khan an mani te kan anin assess anga chuanin until zira khan enge an mani strength enge an weakness an sha theinan khanin self assessment kha an nei kha poi mo tani chuan peer feedback hei chu an mani zir pui te na feedback an pek entirna classroom chunga khanin classroom a khanin chan turte kan explain nu loka khan chan turte khapetaila khatyanga changkhan ron sang ta se an answer sheet kha an mani bulami tene na mo heta apyami tene khan in then kwal ta se chan an in then kwal nu khan mark ten in teng chang khata khanin an zia kanga enge chadna lai le chatlo na lai te khatya angkha comment khan pe khatya changkhanin an mani khan lo in siam chatei don ani so an end of course evaluation kan ti chu khami topika kan zir tir zo ton huwa khan an thiam nge lo mo do they met those program objectives khami kha an man tak lo kha an outcome kha kan in sak don ani chuan chumi lo chu questionnaire omleta questionnaire a chuanin question chi sang an ma ni an lo chan tur an man nge lo ti an lo khami course kan zir chang khan kan sha thi na khan kha apoi mo tani chuanin adot tu le chuanin focus group ti ki omleta chuta jan students the experience kami shang kha discussion on deu khanin an mani classroom chunga kha an discuss don ani chanin khata khan inge information shang te an la khomanga an koleka nga information shang te kami kan thil zir la ya changkai turang chi kha chang khata chang kha soi ho na ten neinga chuta jan feedback te kha an nei don ta chan that assessment no bread mock interview ti ki omtani kita ki chan interview skills and zir theina tur khanita chuta chan ange an changkai puina tur kan ti chan an stress le anxiety kan reduce anin reduce theinan khana pui mota chan chu ba ka an mania khanin confident they wa an theinan khatia angatan khan muk interview kha apoi mota achan chu an mania khanin kami interview style ang kha anti chuanin I an mania khanin confidence khan nei tol don ta kami wang khanin mock interview te khi apoi mole ta ni chuanin the two lets and tuna how we assess our students tuna tak kan kalphunga no pangte kan assess dan tlang pui chu examination te internal exam te presentation te assignment te nya oral te khi ni tani heta hianin a big takin examination so he heta kum topan exam hemi semester topa an exam top angte khatyang khalo ni ta khata khachuanin an result an sha nu khachuanin alo tlai ve to me theiani chuan chu ta chuanin pui mota chu internal exam khani ta tuna kan nei lai me ka chuan internal exam kan nei pui te chang khanin an mania khanin la zir ngai turte in siam chatna ngai turte khatyanga tikhalo omta chuanin chuba ka internal exam kan nei tikhan feedback an mani ta na insiam chatna turang chi mark me ba ka khan hey poor good excellent satisfactory ti vel top pelo khanin an mani pon lo insiam chata an lo hlok pui theina turang chi khan remarks kha kan pe thei don ani chuanin kha kan lo pe nga ka ta chang khan an mani kha an lo insiam cha dona kha pui mota chuanin presentation hi subject zong zong a hian kan ti thei vek lo me thei ma se atlang pui presentation hi kan ti thei chuan tuna enge tuna no pangte point nakin zela ta na ma an son thei nan kan presentation hi chu apoi moni english ten pe thei se enge tuna english ti lo har sa vel ma se ke ma ni in enge kan lo fui ve bok chuanin presentation te tuna changa atlas an pek chuanin an mani atan khana changkai na kin zela tan khana changkai a so ke mani po khan kan zir tir dan kha an man nge man lo kha feedback khamin pe ve ngal bok tan yan mani presentation a changkhan so tan de chuanin tuna han he kan no pangte kan assistant lang pui khan ta assignment kan pe ka changten an man nge man lo ti te chuanin oral hi english department ho yan an nei chining ka sha khatyang an ni po khatyang a changkhanin cha takin an she theinga kha tuna kan assess dan tlang pui khani tani chuan chu ta chuan an mani po in an in siam chat theinan khatianga khanin ma kha kan lap pui theiani an mani kha chuanin adu tu le chuanin communication with stakeholders ten en hanin entinge kanin communicate ang possibility of faculty nya chuan the to non teaching staff chuan students le parents le alumni te khan umtani chuanin faculty ya chuanin ke mani ya chuanin no pangte changa feedback kan donte khatyanga chang ti khanin kan anita chuan non teaching staff kan tia hianin an poi mo area man non teaching staff te tuna enge na kan face tura te po thil chi chang khan mani ya khan in dik tur kha mo chuanin MZU lama changa he an lek adon te khatang khanin enge chadewi dan enkolem ti te clerical works khatang shang kha an mania khanin enge fil takin an enkolem kan khatang te kha wa endik bezel kha ngai tani chuanin chuba ka enge sum chebel zong te khatang kha a in milem an zia dan le khatang a man dan kha a in milem ti te khatang kha account vong tu te ang te kha an pui mo emema khanga chang khang te kha na kina chuanin peer team ho local huna he an endik vek turang kha an kowanga ti khan an endik ve kami wang khan kami a ti khani kanin communicate chat kha angai tani chuan students a te po hianin nichida kan seidong kan course chan tir chang khanin kami course outcome tur kha chat ta ka kan shat ang kha khatyang ti khan nga ya gan soitong kha whatsapp mangin mo le an mani he class kan class la ka changa kan thil enge kan explain lai te na mo hanzol dewa an mani hanzo let te ani lo ponin kan soiton huwa class so huwa te an shethyam lo shat na na tlem han soitir ve te khatya angkhan chuan chu ba ka parents te hianin kan communicate dan ber to parents teachers meet hi ni ta he feedback kan don theina ber ni ta ni chu ta chuan an fa te kan lo encall dan le kan lo zir tir dana khan an mani kha enge an lung oi to kem achan chu he kan men lai na chuanin an fa te hi an mani kuta ai chuan kan kuta khan an tulu tamzo ka chu ban chuan mani khan min ring to kem an thamwan puem until zir chwa ti khan an lom to kem ti te khatyang khati parents teachers mi ta chuanin hei soi ho te la chu da chuanin an effective thei tan tur ber ang kha internal exam an zo cha marks te an nei an han shiat nuwa ti khan ko ta ila khatyanga ti khanin englawangem effective berengem nule pa te khan khatyanga khanin an fate zirdan enge an exam result chang khan an shechiang berengem ti te mo khatyang ang khanin enghun la ya ko khani effective berang nge questionnaire kan sia manga kha khan nule pa ten an lo changa nga I khatya ang te ha khoi blai ber akhangi effective berang ti chu ka shetiam lo ma se khatyang parents teachers meet kan nei kha chuan kan communicate thei dan ber khani tani chuan alumni ho kha kanin kan communication ka kan nei lenge nge kha ngai ta chuan achan chu an changkaya SSR ja ma kan ti na kho khami criteria khan ti tur khan nei ve ni chuta chuan kan curriculum khan idea an ron nei te ngai achan chu kan course te kha chadlo kha feedback kha an ma ni ne na chang khan kan don kha ngai ve wangin chu enting nge kan va communicate heng an mani kha kan college changa zir chwat hei mi hloting tak te ang te kha I entirnan motivational talks te nei tir taila kha hei sarkar milian pui som ai chan kan college chu mi nge te khatyang chwak ang som tur anom chan no pang te tan po khana changkai theizok don ta ni chan chu mei ba ka hei career guidance kan ti ang chi deu te kha an mani ne na changkhanin I lo I kan nei tir thei chan no pang te tan po khanin effective big thei don ta ni chuanin baka an mani kha kan mu khami alumni ho te kha in hu khom na hun te kan sia manga chuan chu ta chuanin ingi anno ti ve tur chan pua ti kha kan shat ti ranga chuan khata khanin hei tu nang lai WhatsApp group te khatyang khan siamin ke mani khan kan khalak dan tur se kha khata chang khan kan shil fya inge alumni ho po kha khata chang khan kan shil fya thei don ani mistake te khan ato 2 mi le tur verb that are used for writing course outcome ti kha chu asoi tlang pui to kha chu hey evaluation kan ti ang chi khatyanga chuanin assess ti te critique determine judge justify ti te kaman turna synthesis kan ti chan design develop formula predict ti te analysis chan distinguish ti te infer application chan examine classify show ti te comprehension chan explain describe ti te chan knowledge chan identify define label list ti te hemi Bloom's taxonomy chuanin anyam knowledge le remembering knowledge ka remembering tin tu na chan an thak to ta adot tu cha comprehension ka understanding tin an thak to kha ta remembering le understanding period ni kha chuanin recall ti te identify ti te label ti te illustration summarize ti te kha aman thei ani chuanin applying and analyzing kan ti chuan use ti te differentiate ti te organize ti te integrate apply solve analyze ti te kha man the chuanin evaluating and creating chuanin monitor test judge produce revise le compose ti te kha khang te kha engi kan man the ho chu ni ta ni chuan heta po hian kha ho kha zia ka chuanin atop na ber evaluation of program outcome le learning outcome chuanin he atop kharna ang kha khatyanga chuanin teaching learning based on feedback dikhini tani hetai chon kan teaching learning khami kha feedback kan don thei dan khani ta chuta chuanin entina final semester te ne na te a form kha kan penga chuan an mani chang khan feedback te kha kan dong thei don tani limitations te constraints kan ti te merits khatya angchi department in khanin an mani ne na pela khami kan mani department zel kha an khatya ang kha form khan an ron changa nga faculty member te hote khatyang ho zong zong khai an mani he an kaldana khan an du thu sange sam lote enge chala an ti te chalo lan ti khami form khan omping kha khan lo changa nga chuanin kha min ron pelet ve thung khat chang khanin ke mani po khan kan no in zir don ani chuanin grievance redressal mechanism ti hi omleta chuanin khamia ka chuan students ti ho khan an harsatna an problem an zirlaya harsatna an tok mo kami college chimshim khan harsatna engamoni po khan tok theini khatianga tan khanin books samokandanga chuan chuta chuan I anmani harsatna te kha an ron thelu tanga chuan khata khanin faculty te khanin resolution kha kan lo siam sak don ani chu confidential veka culture kha ani don bokani chuanin kan soi to han parents teacher meet kan tiang te kha college khanin a organize anga chuanin identifying students they had weak le bright students weak student le bright students they can identify dang chang khata chang khanin kami I enge anmani zir khanin improve dan tur ha kan zong don ani a week how te ka internal remedial class kan ti ang chi te mo khan la pui ngai ho chu la puya chanin seminar te nei pui mo workshop te amo quiz bang no pangten ayan no in charge zawa an mani te an lo son theinan khanin quiz te mo khatian te kha kan buai pui do kan enge kan ti sakanga khatiang khanin an mani har satna sutyan thei dan kha kan zong don ani ka zong kha ani ka soi thei chu thank you chuan in now you can tell so vele changa khanin enge question om chang question ko kha ti thei to chuan chu ma se asha in kan changa discussion angin kan kal dom ya
Miss Lalhriatpuii slide pariat na mo ni khakthong ai takin han show tyang le
pariat na
form kim lo da rik it nan ka sha
bro looks so kan tham lo khopa mo ngoro
imo ikate yeng lo chong kan mo
ti kha chang muthei lo em muthei lo mo
kan nang katang lo itinge endan ti kan lo muthei lo ya
ngoro kan ti chale chinange muthei em ti khan
I or ka mo ma sengin o slide ka number 8 na ni ka siya slide 8
hey nyang
ka mo isay dia biao na tungin ma sengin nge aman tura ka siyang le de uso ka kan roshat teinan o kanibera ka
knowledge ni chuan mo count te define te describe draw find ti mo identify label list ti vel hey in the wa kha mo khilai tak khi chu char em lo
na
ni
no
ta zia de hi char tan chu
tolu to chanin mo learning outcome course outcome ka kan nei ta tro chanin program outcome om bokta ta ani program specific outcome ka om leta ka enge program outcome ne na enge adang lam na ka specific outcome program specific outcome ka ron te
ma itong kha ka shi thei lo le program specific Amitiami.
Program outcome om ta course outcome kan nia program outcome kan ne ta chuan apan ka chuan ron soi tha maseng program specific outcome
Program specific
kaka
outcome
ine program outcome pa ngai ne
adang lam na mo. Kaba siya lo, kaba siya may lo be siya din no mem.
Let me bang
kalau enroll lok may o kan meeting hit top che pomo group khanin link kha kan lo share le to chuan aron top chuan in khami link khan kan lut dial mai don nia o chuan
Miss
khami
Papari
program
kan sam rosi.
program outcome le program specific outcome ti ve ka shelu tu big lawa ama ero chu ke mani level a chuan program outcome le program specific outcome zo kha chu kan university te kha kan program min petu an ni wangin an mani khanin outcome kha an ron nei zok ta ni chu kan syllabus a khanin a om vectura chuan kan ngai dewa syllabus tran tira hian course objective le course outcome ti kha in nei ve mo syllabus bua khan
Omang objectives
su
ka objective le outcome mitil in mai te me nia outcome kha om chia lo pon objective atang khan outcome kha atong kam thak deuh khan a generate thei me ta kan mo phu na ani lutuk lo program outcome le program specific outcome kha ama ero chu kan siak thei ho ni khatlai atang khan kan ta program design tu te kan ni miao lo wa khan university lam chan ani deuh chu zong chu khami chung chang ka soi thei chu
say do.
chuan ala zo lo de ki zanin kan program ma ki kan man chan kha kan soi thok dua alo to thut mai the program course outcome khati khan kan lam zia ka aron lu dia ta kan voi khati na fe kan ni han in gai tur chuang vak po kan nom lo na khamia khanin achale zwala course outcome kha kan zia theina turin zanin program hi kan han dichin khani tin chu mai ba ka chuan faculty development program hi kan ma mo tho si ka sabapani kha kan han bom thave de chu ani chuan midang ko kha course outcome zia chung changa zo na in nei teng te kha lo zo to la thiam in kan changa nga tin kan soi ho pa bo ka nga alifin in hote ahara ti han kan meeting pa ani meya chutianga enge o va ti ren run asoi tu te miste te le Laldampuii ringot chung tura khan ngai lem lo tai la kan soi tlang don ya
Say to ne no mo.
thiam ve ka moni le kan lo tum dan chuan dar za hi zuk hi nga ya una kan program khan zo hian ke mani kan course outcome zia to te kha alo diklo ti lai point te omani chuanin dole la le ti la a submit to ho ko khanin edit le thela khanin miss bekile miss sangian boy lu tuklo nan kan lo ti dan
No ina sin.
kha adi lo that me ti khanin kan siam chale hlom don ya
Alin kar to ala runda da lo ne.
kada to kha
ada to missing group khana da
Miss Papari group runda te.
tuan dia kami to kha course outcome develop kha kan du man mo ve tho IQAC submit tura hian na ngai to bang kan website hen da ngai ni tu bang chuan aman mo thak ve tho ti kan lo bel zuai
sorry la chung em ka she thei to mi alo
kon to lo
chung to lo mo kan chung yo don pon sa ba en zuk zuk khi ga ya chuanin kan course outcome kha I kan communicate to na chuanin atiti ang type in lo soi me tai la lo ning lo ang chumo I semester kan han chan tir pathian plus kan han zir tir chan ma hian I zir tir tu zong zong ti dan ani karinga I nge introduction kan course te kan han introduce a engemo introduction kan nei chin fekani I kha ta khan I alo formal zwal zok theinan kan course outcome hi I course outcome ti chung kam te kha rol taila kan course outcome chu mi khami chu ani a I kan tianga Miss Dampuin aron soi ang khan I dule azia kinamo a printed inamo kan semanga he tu na course outcome kan zia lai kan website a kan da to na I kan stakeholders zong nu le pa telin I andu tu huna an endon ni chu wang chuan uluk tlang hle ila voina meeting a khanin tunge moni khana ron soi zawa tu mi te college po an copy paste ve na sa khop mai ti kha aron soi zawa ni chu wang chuan khatiang ang khan ki ma po mi ina min cross check na vek tur khania unuk ta ila ti khan zep tel do ni chu ko kan copy paste ni pon I kan eng angyal ngan lutuk lo khan kan ti kan tum sham don ya kan the ang to in
miam ye sen khan college dang khan min en ton jok se ti kha kan du dan deuni nakira SSR te kan upload nga ta hanin an SSR kha college dang hian aron en ve don ni lati ve tu khan nge bidang te en ton plak lo khanin ti chok tum te na khan ha in cha bokani
chuan zo den zo du lo e kan soi le lo outcome kha assess thei tur ani ti kan mi se khan an ron soi to a chuan khami kan assess dana khanin tuna kan kalpuya chuan thil thar lu tukhi a introduce thei lawa kan din mun zong zong nen hian I kan in assess dan tlang lon ber chu exam internal exam ani a end semester exam chu kan assess ve to lawa khami internal exam kan han assess khan I amar tupa in pehlom tup lovin I eng feedback kan sempa khan feedback te no pangkha eta ila ani lo pon kan sem photanga tin apakhat pon eng anmani kan han assess le anga khami nuwa khanin feedback hun kha ashan pon kan hong theya kha chu zirti tu in ama thu ina kalpui theya feedback hi I or sham ang u college pakhat ti dan kan han en na a chuanin learning outcome assessment mechanism hi muman takin an nei lo ti in na peer team te khanin an soi saka an remark an nei saka khatiang ang kha kan chunga thlen lo nan tuna chuanin kan kal khom thei lawa mumal takin kan ti thei ri lawa ama ero chu internal te po online in kan conduct a khata khan amar a grade te the top lo khan feedback kha pek tum shamila chuan ke ni pon azia lama khanin feedback kan pe ate kan lo intianga dot ziak lovin tin he system hi thil thatak ani awang khanin kalpui chho offline kan kal le thei ani pon kalpui chho ship kha chu tu mani ti te kha kan soi pa a zo na hi a om lo chuan an meeting hi atop lo deuh bawkin ka hria a pisma engi kha vote of thanks soi turin kan som mai dawn yang
Yeah, do the.
Oh,
Mr.
tikan
Egi
shat
ka.
Lampui.
Shate. Oh, shate.
Ale, ikan kan soy meng Oi
Okay.
Pathian zar azanina Government Serchhip College Faculty Development Committee te kan principal te IQAC te tanghem ngai na wangin learning outcome ti topic mang program lok thak tak kan han nei the along ka ti le hei kan department kan presenter pahni Dr. Serchhip le Ms. Lampui te kan han ngai thlan chuan khop me kha an chuwa polom thu ka sui mol mula hei lockdown chung hian kan college sianin maso na step tam tak kan kai tharin ka sia ki ma ngi po hian thil tal te kan zir ve pa hetianga thok tu te thahnem ngai na zara zanin hun kan mang thei te hi alo momin faculty member rong zong te chuwa education department mingin lom thu te kan soi ve kan malam hun atan tangkai ni tak tak a nge yang ti po ka be sei thata meeting the program attend to the zong zong chuwa lom thu ka soi mole hello me
Tikan chuan kan zawan